Assalamu alaikum everyone and a very good evening to all of you. This is Ahmed, founder and president from Evolution360, and today I welcome you all to today's International Symposium on the occasion of International Day of Girl Child 2020. So, as you all know, Evolution360 is a youth organization from Bangladesh working to implement SDG 5, and our vision is to create a gender equal world participating both from youth generation and from all walks of society. And we work for skill development and also women empowerment. So today we have two very amazing personalities among us together. And without further ado, I would actually like to introduce them with all of you. Firstly, our first guest is Mandy Sanghera, who joined us from the United Kingdom. Let me give you a short introduction of Mandy. Mandy is an award-winning philanthropist and community consultant and global campaigner, often referred to a global catalyst. As well as being an international human rights activist and motivational TEDx speaker from UK, Mandy has traveled all over the world empowering and motivating others with 3 decades of experience. Mandy is an expert in various development-related fields. She has been driving innovation, building strategic partnerships, promoting advocacy, and programming in the areas of human rights, gender equality, accountability, and social justice globally. Let me also tell you that Mandy has helped hundreds of individuals and now reaches thousands through social media and her generous amount of worldwide TV appearances and public speaking engagements. In November 2019, she spoke at the US House of Representatives for the 3rd year in a row and was also at the World Economic Forum this year to speak on a couple of side events. We welcome you, Mandy, on Evolution360. How are you doing?
I'm really good, and thank you so much for having me here, and it's a great honor to be supporting you. I know it's late in Bangladesh, so I really appreciate people staying up and listening, so thank you.
Yes, a lot of people has already joined us. They're really excited, and hopefully we'll have a fruitful discussion.
Fantastic.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to introduce you to our next guest today, who is Amreen Bashir from the United States. Amreen is a Bangladeshi-American educator who was born in New York but grew up internationally. She completed her Bachelor's of Education degree at McGill University, Canada, and then completed her first Master's in International Education with a focus on secondary teaching through the College of New Jersey's Global Program while working full-time in Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam. She has worked in 4 countries and currently works with the Bangladeshi Gender Equity Foundation, HerStory, which aims to promote gender equity through technology, literature, and representation. In addition, she is a consultant for the EdTech Hub while pursuing a full-time master's degree in international education policy at Harvard University. Welcome, Amreen. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you, Mandy, for sharing the stage.
Amreen, can you hear me? Yes, thank you, Amreen. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Ahmed, Global Goodwill Ambassador from Bangladesh and also the founder of Evolution360. I welcome you all again today. And now we are actually going to start our today's session. So I would request each and every one of you who have joined us today, you can actually comment your queries in the comment box. You can comment any questions that you like our guests to answer today. And you all know that today we're going to talk about the International Day of the Girl Child and this year's theme, of course, which is My Voice, Our Equal Future. And a lot of other things regarding SDG 5 will come into discussion. So if you have anything to say or any wishes, you can just comment in the comment box. Moving on to our official session. Firstly, Mandy, I would actually like to give you the floor to introduce yourself to the audience. Of course, they know a lot about you, but definitely we would be glad to know about your contribution in the SDG 5 sector and a message that you would actually like to give the audience today.
Brilliant. So thank you very much.
Mandy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great honor, great privilege to be here. And actually, one of the things that I would like to say is that actually, I'm very passionate about SG5 because it's about promoting gender equality, making sure that no one has been left behind. And I've been campaigning on, gender equality for 3 decades, and I've been focusing on the subcontinent and looking at women in Asia, Pakistan, and other areas around the world. I'm one of the founders of the Early Child Forced Marriage Unit in the UK, but it's actually called the Forced Marriage Unit. And you wouldn't believe that actually if I told you that these practices still happen in the UK, and how do we address these? So it's about engaging with communities, educating and empowering the next generation. I'm also very passionate about mentoring and supporting and opening doors for the next generation of activists and campaigners. It's fantastic to see you and Amreen here today doing some great work, and it's really brilliant to see women of colour leading the way. And one of the other things that I do is actually tackle a lot of intersectionalities, and it's really important that actually we create a level playing field for young women and that they have a seat at the table. By default, I've become known better, the woman lifting the next generation off the sticky floor. And people say to me, why do you do that? So I will tell you why I'm very passionate about this, is because actually when we look at smashing glass ceilings, that is all fantastic, but we also need to address the issue why of women left behind and not able to reach the top. Why do women not get into leadership? What's stopping them? So it's about addressing the social, the economic, all the social issues that are affecting women. So I know that in places like Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, and other countries in the subcontinent, we know that there is honor, girls are not always educated, girls are victims of early child forced marriage. So there are a lot of issues. So it's really important that we actually empower and educate the girl child, and we give her hope to have dreams and make sure that they become a reality. It's really important that we address all the social economic issues that are holding women back. And I've been doing this for 30 years, and this year was a very important year for us because we celebrate Beijing 25, but actually it's been put back by another year due to COVID. And actually, one of the things that has really concerned me this year is that actually women have been really affected by COVID-19 around the world, where they have had to give up education, give up work to become teachers, become caregivers and look after their children and their families. And that's affected women all across the globe. So we also know that women were always paid somewhat less than men. Even in the West, women are paid nearly a quarter less than men. So all these inequalities were always here before COVID. And one of the things I've been really addressing recently is around actually what has been the impact of COVID? How can we improve things for the next generation, especially the girl child? How can we empower her to be at that table? Because I've actually been on tables around the world, whether it's at the UN, Davos, or wherever it may be, European Parliament, the House of Lords and the Commons. It's really important that we have young voices, we have diverse voices, we have people from all different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different nationalities. So it's really important that we address those real issues. So I'm going to just sort of stop there for a moment, and I'll take your next question after Amreen's spoken.
Thank you so much, Mandy, for your wonderful words. Now I would actually like to give the floor to Ms Amreen Bashir, and I would like her to answer the same question, the activities, the amazing works that she's been doing, and definitely what is her thoughts on driving the change in SDG 5. Amreen, you have the floor.
So I want to echo a lot of the sentiment that Mandy has already shared in terms of having more voices and representation of women and of women of diversity of different colors at the table. I think that's really important, and that's something that I've always been very passionate about. The other angle that I've always been really passionate about is history. I studied history at McGill for teaching history, for education, and I took a lot of women's history courses. One of the things that I kept seeing and wondering is history is his story. Where is her story? And that was something that really resonated with me. So when I was approached by the HerStory Foundation in its inception stages to help with the idea behind the books, one of the things that really struck me was this is great because it brings representation. In the global South, as well as the global North, women are underrepresented. we talk about, how to increase representation, and there are very few avenues. I think there are more now, which is really great. But, when I was doing my undergrad, there wasn't as much. And I think that is something that I'm really passionate about, that I think representation for women is really important. And I think that for us to be at the table, we need little girls to know that they can get there, that there were other women who've been at the table, and they may have been erased by history as people have written it, but that they were there. And so it is really important for me to so that other people know about that, and that they strive to get back in those places where they can create change. I've been working in gender equity since I was 17 years old, especially in Bangladesh, because I'm of Bangladeshi heritage, and I owe a lot of my privilege, a lot of my culture to the country. And so when I was 17, we started an NGO called Ogro, where we helped educate the most marginalized girls, which were disabled Dalit girls. And we won an UN AOC fund for promoting dialogue between the Dalits, as well as, our Sunni kids in certain different areas of Bangladesh. Once that project ended and I had to go off to college, I started focusing on this aspect of gender equity through historical representation and bringing history to the forefront of people's minds so that we can learn from what other people have done and improve on that. And to that end, I have been working in gender equity ever since. And I think that it is really important for boys and girls to know about all the amazing things that women have done to contribute and advance society. Back to you, Upama.
Thank you so much, Amreen, for the amazing words. And we are greatly pleased to know about your words. So now moving on to the next question, that we all know that today we are here on the occasion of celebrating International Day of the Girl Child. So that brings me to all of you to the question that what do you actually think about this year's theme of International Day of the Girl Child, and what is your definition of empowerment? I would like to go to Mandy first. Mandy, you have the floor. Mandy, will you please unmute yourself?
Bless you, sorry. Bless you, can't lip read, can you? Sorry, that's my fault. So empowerment to me is about actually educating people, giving them the tools, giving them the soft skills of the confidence, the self-belief to actually believe in themselves, creating real opportunities, and actually not just offering lip service. I really like the point that Afreen made about including young men, because actually, if we want global change and we want change on the ground, we have to involve men to be a part of the solution. And the UN Women have a program which is called the He for She. And it's really important that men understand that they are also feminist. Because if you believe that your sister has a right to an education, your wife has the right to be treated with respect, your mother has a right to live a life free of violence, that actually you are a feminist when you stand up for women's rights. And it's really important that we look at what does empowerment mean to an individual, because it means different things to different people. Like I said earlier, I've been campaigning for over 30 years, and I was one of the very first South Asian voices calling out issues and things that were happening in our communities. When I talk about South Asian subcontinent communities, I'm talking about India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, and those kind of communities where I started off doing the work. And a lot of people would say to me, oh, we don't want to address those issues because we don't want to be seen as being racist. And I started campaigning and started saying, well, hang on, this is not right. We need to call out these out-of-date harmful practices. Nobody has a right to violate somebody. Nobody has a right to abuse somebody. And children have a right to grow up in a safe home full of love and, to grow and be their own person, not be fearful of abuse and neglect. So that's where I started, and I started campaigning and supporting people with disabilities. So it was really interesting to hear about Afreen's work as well. And actually, just in recent weeks, I have seen people being really disempowered in India, where a young woman has been raped, gang raped, and then she has now been set alight. and her only crime is that she was a Dalit. I mean, we have to get away from the outer class system now, because it has no place in the 21st century, and it really shocks me, and it's really, you know, unbelievable that we are still talking about this, because we are all equal. We are born, you know, we are human beings before we're anything else. So like when I always say to people, I am a woman, and I'm, you know, I'm a woman of, you know, in Asian descent, and, you know, all of those things first. And I'm also a human being, and you need to come back and respect me for that. So we need to give people back that power, that actually they have a voice, because that's what empowerment means, that actually people can come out and tell their truth and create a safe place where people don't feel shy. And if somebody wants help, that we are actually able to offer them real help and give them real opportunities and not disempower them. So if a woman in the UK, you know, wants to flee domestic violence, we need to create a safe place for her, because actually we might be the only one that steps up and helps her. So she might have built up the confidence to ask for help. Then we need to empower her and give her that power back as a victim or a survivor of abuse, not disempower her by actually putting in processes and procedures and scaring her. So I think it's really important, and it's really important that we tackle misogyny, sexism, and racism, and all the out-of-date cultural practices. We also need to stop this attitude that boys are princes, and we tell them that they can live a different way. We need to teach them about respect and not tell girls what to wear if we want change. So I think it's about changing mindsets. And I feel like that we need to have young men to be a part of this conversation. And I would really say to you is actually, when you meet somebody and they come to you for help, it's great that you want to do that. But it's also about actually asking that person, what does help look like? Give it back to that person to tell you what that means. Because it might be that actually, I want to make my own choices, or I want to do this, I want to have my own voice. So it's really important that we work in a very person-centered way, that we work with the victim or the survivor or the women or the young girls in the center and build a support around her, and actually let her choose who she wants to be in there. And it is about giving that person their own voice, their own choices, and to be treated with respect and dignity, to live a life without fear and reprisals. And I think that, you know, we just need to look at that and look at how we can disempower people by taking over and silencing them, to say, well, don't speak up because of honor. We're worried about the family. We're worried about the community. We're worried about our family name. You know what? We will never break the cycle if we don't speak out.
Thank you so much, Mandy. Yes, I completely agree with you to the fact that in order to break the gender stereotypes and misogyny, we definitely need to involve the men. And that is why Evolution360 has been working for the past 4 years involving men, young men, in implementation of gender equality, replicating the he for she. Thank you so much for your words. Amreen, you have the floor.
So again, Mandy has said so many things that I agree with and so many things that I believe in. And I think what I would add to that is that without voice, you will not be represented. So if people are not listening to what you have to say, then you don't exist. And so I think the theme is really, really important. My voice, our equal future. And just if you, like, I'm a teacher. So let me, for me, it's really interesting to see the words even, my voice, our future, because my voice is part of a collective. And if my voice is silenced, then I am not part of the collective, right? So my voice needs to be heard. And if I'm going to say something, then it needs to be acknowledged as someone speaking, as someone having a valid point. And you may disagree with it, you may agree with it, you may debate with me, that's fine, but you need to listen. And just because of virtue of my gender should not inhibit me from speaking out my truth, whatever that may be. And I think that is really important. And I think that the theme is important, where it gives ownership and agency to the individuals who individuals who all need to speak up. I think one of the things that has been really interesting for me to see, especially during COVID, in the last few months, is for me, I've started using social media a lot more. I was not quite as active as I've been in the last few months. And what that has brought me to is realizing how powerful social media is in connecting, in speaking out your voice, in in actually saying what you want to say and having people hear it, whoever it is who choose to hear it. But the fact is that you have a platform to speak. You know, as an American, the Metoo movement was really, as an American Bangladeshi, even just as American, yes, but also especially as an American Bangladeshi, the Metoo movement was really, really a profound moment in history for me, because here there were women who were speaking out their truths, and that's a truth for many women around the world, and they were being listened to. They were not being told to be quiet. They were not being told that, oh, these are powerful men, and so ergo, because society values them, you are not valued. Here are women who were speaking out against injustices done to them and having people listen. And I thought, what amazing turn of the tide, and something that was necessary, that should have happened a long time ago, and that needs to happen in many, many places in the global south. It's a pervasive problem all around the world, but especially in the global south. As Mandy mentioned just not too long ago, in India, right now in Bangladesh is having its own waves of protests against many, many instances that are very of sexual assault that are prevalent and pervasive. And so speaking out our truths and having people listen, both men and women, boys and girls, is very, very important.
Exactly, Amreen. I completely agree with you on that. We have to speak against injustice. We have to speak against all the misogyny in order to break them. Now, moving on to my next question to the honorable panelists. Since we all know that in the sector of SDG 5, there are a number of things involved, like education, there is the security, equal rights, and a lot of protests, definitely, which is ongoing globally. So I just want to hear from you that what is actually the current condition of these things in your own country, and what are the main challenges that UK or USA faces in these things? Because we all know that although both are Western countries, developed countries, but we still have gender disparity in them. So what are the actually challenges that you have been facing in your countries, and how would you actually like to address them? Mandy, over to you. Mandy, would you please unmute yourself?
Sorry. Bit off, actually, sorry, it's my fault. So what it is, it's really important that we look at what does equality mean. And like I said earlier, women are not being paid the same. We know that actually when a woman takes a career break to have children, when she comes back, she's worried about like getting back into that position. And we need employers to tackle unconscious biases that they have. And it's also important that we address the intersectionalities that are affecting South Asian and people from the global South. So whether you're a woman of Asian descent, a woman who's, you know, slightly older, and then, or, you know, that you may have a disability or LGBTQI. So it's really important that we look at what people bring to the table. So in Britain recently, we have seen women being really affected. And like I said, you know, people have lost their businesses. So for instance, in the UK, some of the small businesses were run by women. There might be hair and beauty, or there might be restaurants. But actually, because people have not been going out, people have not been able to go back out. Some of these women have now lost their livelihoods. So we need to look at addressing these real issues about how do we bring people back and give them the confidence to invest and grow, because actually they employed other women and they did that. So there has been some real issues and real inequalities that have come to the surface and taken place. And one of the other things that I would like to say is that in recent weeks, we have seen the BME community, which is the Black and ethnic minority community, being affected disproportionately, and they have a higher risk of dying from COVID. So, and the reason is because they actually work in the front line. They work in medical, they work in the hospitality industry, they work in the shops, they work in the cleaning industry, they work in those sort of low-levelish kind of jobs. And we need to be looking at empowering and addressing those issues. So I'm looking at COVID as an opportunity. I have been using this to bring young people to the table, making sure that we are listening and growing and learning from young people all over the world. And I'm sort of saying to young people, there's a lot of free events happening, whether they're through the UN, through good universities, that you join in and join the movement and have your voice. And one of the other things I would say to you is actually advocacy on the ground. Working on your own, you can't do it. You have to build a tribe. You have to bring people together. And I think it's fantastic what you both are doing, ladies. I think, I have to applaud you both for the amazing work that you're doing on the ground, involving young men to be a part of the solution, because actually we have to become the change we want to see in the world. That is the first advice that I always give young people. When we do activism and campaigning, whether it's for domestic violence, climate change, or for equality, or whatever it may be, that actually you bring people together, you bring like-minded people together. And like I said earlier, we had the Beijing 25, we had, so much going on this year. And there are platforms like CEDAW, which are telling people and helping people to address the real issues affecting women. And it's about joining those kind of groups and actually bringing those things and implementing things onto your organizations. And I think I would also finally just say on a final note that we need to educate people what equality means, because actually, sadly, in some communities, parents think, well, actually, I'm your parent, I own, I have your best interest at heart, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But actually, you don't have a right to make life-changing decisions on your children's behalf. And we need to speak out. We need to call out out-of-date cultural practices. We need to call out people when young people's choices and rights have been taken away. We can no longer be a bystander and sit on there and think, well, actually, it doesn't affect me. That's not my sister who's been raped, or it's my sister that's been abused. Oh, it's just so-and-so sister. We need to go back to the good community values that we had, that everyone supports each other, people look out for each other. And I think that the good thing that has happened in recent months is that people have stepped back, they have reflected, they have learnt, and they are looking at learning how we can leave no one behind. And I feel like there are some real good movements that are happening. There are some great campaigns, and it's really important. So right now I've got one on social media. If people want to join me on Twitter, please feel free and tweet why you're not scared, or tell me why you're fearless, because tweet your photograph and give me a quote, because I actually want to hear from all of you. And just want to say thank you. It's been a great pleasure, great privilege to be a part of this debate here as well. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Mandy, for the enlightening words. I would like to address Amreen now. Amreen, you have the floor.
So, what I want to say is, as representing the US in this question, would be that if you look at, history, because that's what I really enjoy doing, in 1870 is when girls really started to go to public schools, and it's the first time that they started to surpass boys. And so in 1790 they started going in, but it was called the smuggling the girls in system. Like, people didn't really notice, like, we were just starting to get girls into these community schools in their local towns and villages and so forth. And then by 1870 the girls started surpassing boys in public schools, and then slowly we started noticing, wait, women are coming. It wasn't until much later when women started being accepted into universities. At first, it was their own universities. Everything was like women's university in the US, and they had very specific subjects that didn't involve STEM. And then, you come to today where 56% of second like a higher education degree holder are women. And for the first time, as of January this year, we've got a majority of women in the workforce, and not just counting the informal sector, right? So yes, it's only 50.04%. So we've just been up by 0.04%, but that's a win. I'll take it. However, having said these, great things, we still don't have enough women in STEM, in the STEM fields. We don't have gender equal pay. So to date, women get paid 80 cents to every dollar that men get paid, and that is a discrepancy. American Center for Progress did a study where they took 526 jobs and they analyzed it, because they said, okay, 80 cents to the dollar, maybe that's just a blanket statement. Let's actually evaluate it. And what they found was that 416 of these jobs, men made more money. About 100 or so, they were equal, and only one job, which was of nutritionists, where women made more money, which is, you're looking at 2020. That is an insane number. That why is there one job where women are making more money? Then 1 out of 6 women in America have had to deal with rape or attempted rape, and this is from the National Hotline of Sexual Assault, right? And even among that, there's color discrepancy. Black women are 3 times more as likely to get harassed or have any sort of sexual violence against them in the workplace, in their communities. And so in the community, not their community, in communities. So I think that, yes, America has made strides, but one thing that we lose while always looking at the rosy picture of America in popular media or the American dream is that there's some real problems in gender equity in the US that still exist, and that whether you're in the South, the North, the East, or the West, there are issues that are not being dealt with, and these are on the national and state level that need to be addressed, and that we need programs to fund and make sure that women can get on a more equal playing field as men.
Thank you so much, Amreen, for showing us the inside picture and enlightening us about such important facts. So since we are talking about the women empowerment and education and safety, I would also like to enlighten all of you along with the audience, since we have seen that audience from different countries have actually joined us. So you can actually comment in the section from where you are watching us. So in Bangladesh, actually, I would like to say that by the grace of our current government and also the Honorable Prime Minister, who also happens to be a female, we have actually come a long way in the education sector, because within 10 years, the education enrollment for girls has reached from 39 to 67%, which is amazing. And also in the secondary level, the government has taken some amazing initiatives to stop the dropout rates and everything. However, we are still facing challenges regarding child marriage and some gender-based violence and things like that, which are actually stopping the females to get involved and to turn into labor force or become highly educated. So still we are actually working on that. And we have already mentioned earlier that Evolution360 has worked for replicating the He for She through our local campaign, which we call Be the Change campaign or campaign Poriborton. And here we actually teach the young boys on consent and attitude towards opposite gender. And we teach young girls on basic self-defense, boosting their confidence. So my next question to both of you is, what is actually your stand on the He for She campaign, which we have been replicating in different parts of Bangladesh? And how do you think that this can help the community in stopping the gender disparity? Amreen, I'd like to give you the floor first. Amreen, please unmute yourself.
Sorry. So I think as an educator, the parts that really resonate with me about the He for She campaign, as well as your campaign Poriborton, is the fact that you are trying to teach boys consent, teach girls self-defense. This teaching aspect of educating boys and girls is really, really important. And we have a lack of social emotional learning in schools across Bangladesh. And I think what you're doing is taking up that mantle, and that is really, really important. And it's something that will that needs to be done in our society. It's something that needs to be done in many societies. And I think that your work in trying to do that is amazing. And I think you should keep it up.
Thank you so much for your good wishes. Mandy, over to you.
Brilliant. Sorry, I'm going to have to leave in a few minutes. But one of the things I would say to you, I've been going around the world making sure people give me a high five. And the reason I do that is because I want people to think about SG5 and think about equality. So, you know, the next time you give somebody a high five, think for a moment, what does that look like? What does equality mean? And actually, by involving and educating young boys, like I said earlier, telling him about his sister's rights, about his wife's rights, his mother's rights, and making sure that she has a voice, that he advocates on her behalf and becomes a feminist and be proud to be wearing that badge of a he for she and be the change that you want to see. And it's fantastic to see so many young people around the world who are leading the way. And there are some amazing young men and older men who have really been champions of women's rights and equality, because actually people realize that women are, you know, 51% of the population. We have to involve them in the conversation. We need to make sure that women are paid equal, that women has a life free of violence, that she's not worried about being a victim of an early child marriage. And I have met the Prime Minister because I spoke alongside her many years ago from Bangladesh at the Girls Summit. And you know, one of the things is it's great that we have women in leadership, and we need to inspire the next generation of young women to be getting into the highest office, because somebody has already done that. And we need to show women. And actually, I hope that the Prime Minister is listening to this and actually creates programs where we can elevate women, get more girls into STEM, get girls into real careers that actually pay better money. We need to get away from the gender norms and the stereotypes where we expect women to stay home and have children and just cook and clean. When we empower and educate a woman and she can work herself out of poverty, the world will be a better place. And on that note, I would just like to say, if everyone wants to give me a high five for gender equality, that'll be great. And it's been a great honor, great privilege. And thank you both as well. I've really learned a lot from both of you as well today. And it's been an absolute great debate. So thank you very much, both of you. And it's keep in touch and give me a high five, girls. We need someone to take a picture. We need someone to take this picture because we're getting high five for gender equality.
Yeah, sure. Someone will actually take a screenshot. Thank you, Mandy, and thank you, Amreen. That's amazing to hear from you. And that actually brings me to the last question of today's session, which is, I'm pretty sure everyone wants to know your future plans, what you are currently planning to do in this sector, and definitely a message for all the work, all the activists who are working to implement SDG 5 and fighting for the cause. Mandy, over to you.
Okay. Always work for the cause and not for the applause would be my first advice. If you're looking for a mentor, looking at someone to learn from, so people like myself who are in these positions of power where you want to aim to go to, you know, like somebody like myself has 30 years plus of knowledge of international development and gender equality and have fought the battles that you're looking at fighting, and actually happy to share my tips with you. And, you know, it's really important that you reach out to people just like you did. You reached out to me, Tommy, you're doing an event. And I said, okay, I'm happy to give up an hour of my time to come along and support you. Because you know what, if you don't ask, you don't get. Look at where you want to go. And actually, you know what, use this opportunity if you're not working right now to rebrand yourself, develop your skills, learn the free courses. You know, Harvard is giving away free courses on EDX and other platforms, all the universities, Oxford and everyone. So look at developing your skills. Look at all the free coding courses or whatever else that you want to go to. Be innovative and creative and be fearless and not be worried. I hope you will join me on Twitter, tweet your photograph and tell me why you're fearless, or, you know, and it's really important that we give survivors a voice, because actually I know the power of social media because I've done campaigns and, you know, we have thousands of people join me on them. So please join me, join the movement, because actually together we're stronger. So thank you, ladies. I'm going to have to leave.
Thank you, Mandy. It's amazing. I've seen you working with Cuban women and in different campaigns that we have done. And that's really inspiring. and applauding for all the works that you have been doing. Thank you so much. Amreen, last words from you regarding the suggestions and your future plan.
So, I think as one of our recently former Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, women belong in all places where decisions are being made. And I think that is an important quote to remember for men and women, right? So for us, for women to be sidelined is a new phenomenon in history. For example, the first people to be revered in every settlement was the woman. The first goddess in the world was in Kata al-Hayuk, which is one of the first human settlements. We went from that to now where women are, where we're fighting to bring our voices back again. And so I think that for everybody who's fighting for women to have a seat at the table, I commend you. I say keep going at it. For me, I think my future is to keep doing this, keep fighting the good fight, and keep supporting everybody who wants to join me in this. I think we need to all support each other. We need to give each other access to information and access to abilities, and we need to empower one another. And through support and unity, we can go much further than we have ever gone. And I think that COVID really is an interesting time in our lives where I think that can actually happen. We are coming together more now, even though it's in a digital space, but we are. And that is something that is really valuable and something that we need to foster and continue doing.
Exactly, Amreen. From one educator to another, I really appreciate your each and every words, and definitely the time you have spared to be with us today. Thank you so much for your valuable presence, and I'm pretty sure the audience are really happy and will be happy to see you in our next events and future ventures as well. So thank you so much. Evolution360 is really grateful to have you, and looking forward to seeing you in person. And cheers to a lot of initiatives together. Thank you so much, Amreen.
Bye-bye.
And thanks to all the viewers who are watching us, who have been watching us from the very beginning. Thank you so much.